Hello. In this video, we will be continuing with how we perform static testing. In the first video, we saw how we could review one user requirement specification document. We talked about what is the process for reviewing, how do we document our comments and observations, how would that document look after the feedback has been incorporated. So I am talking about all of this, the static testing from the perspective of the tester. Okay, if you are the QA and you are participating in these meetings, what is expected out of you? And that is kind of how I'm going with this static testing. Today we are going to be looking at this particular one called code review. I'm not gonna like do every single work product, but it should give you an idea of what we are supposed to look at. So when we do the code review, normally code review meetings are going to be initiated by the developer that is assigned to that particular requirement. The developer is going to use the user requirement specification as their baseline and then write the code, create a design and write the code based upon that specific user requirement specification document. At this point, the assumption is we have an approved user requirement specification document that can be relied upon. So the business analyst, developer, QA, project manager, everybody is going to be using that user requirement specification, assuming that it is accurate and it meets the requirements of the user. So let us say the developer has developed his or her code based upon the user requirement specification document. So when they come to a meeting to review this document, they are going to be inviting their peer developers. They are going to be inviting the QAs that are part of the project. And sometimes there could be test lead, tech lead, architects. Usually the project manager does not attend these meetings. But again, these are based upon my personal experience. It could differ from company to company, and depending upon the size of the company, the complexity of the requirement, there could be more or less people involved. So we are going to be looking at a sample user requirement specification and a sample code that was developed based off it. And as a QA, when you attend this review meeting, you are going to be making observations to see how much of a deviation is there between the code that has been created and the user requirement document. Okay, so let's look at the user requirement document. Okay, so this is the code. And this is the user requirement document. So the user requirement document, you remember from the last time, uh, uh, you know, a user requirement document was reviewed, right? We made like a mock of that, like a sample. So it's the same document. So it's the commission, calculating commission based upon sales amount. So this is going to be now considered as the accurate document. All the modifications that you had suggested were made, and this is now approved. So that's our assumption when we go into this. So you already are familiar with what is supposed to be happening, and then we are going to be looking at the code based upon this requirement. So let's pull up the code. So here is code. This code has been written in C#. Okay, so not every QA has to understand code, but because the code is written in English, you should be able to more or less follow it to see if it meets the requirements. If you have questions or don't understand a certain syntax or whatever that is there, you can ask questions about it. You don't have to feel intimidated even if you don't understand completely in what language it has been written. Like for example, a QA could be well versed in Python but may have no understanding about SQL, for example, or say C#. So it is okay. You are not expected to be a technical expert, but you are going to be wearing the hat of a tester. You're trying to find any bugs in the code before it actually gets handed over to you. So you are going to be wearing that hat and thinking from that perspective. So let's look at this code. It has some kind of a text here saying enter the salesperson name. So let's look at our review document and see if there is any deviation. enter your name. Here it says enter the salesperson name. There is no match at all. So that is a red flag. So, as soon as you look at that, you can say, hey, something's wrong. This person's not done a good job. And then you can make those comments. So I'm just gonna like start the markup here so I can say where I see issues. Oops. So this seems off. So I'm going to be questioning that, saying, hey, it doesn't match the requirement document. And you can like raise this concern during the code review meeting and say, hey, I don't see that in the requirement. There seems to be a mismatch. Can you take a look at it? This says enter your name and you're saying something else. Let's see the next one. It says get sales amount as input store in a variable. That's okay. Next it says say enter sales amount. Let us see if that matches. Enter sales amount. But that seems okay, but the case, like S seems to be in uppercase, A seems to be in uppercase, doesn't seem to match. And then it says sales amount can be decimal. Okay, that seems good. Let's see the next requirement. Calculate commission 200 plus 0.09 times sales amount. Let us see if that formula has been implemented correctly. 200, let's see, what does it say? Commission. Sales amount plus 9 by 10 times 200. 9 by 10 is 0.9. Sales amount times 0.9 plus 200. Is that the formula? Oh, it's 0.9. So there is a bug there. The developer has made a bug here. This should be 0.09. And then let's see the next one. Hello, Mr. Salesperson. Okay, let us see if that is the output that we want. Hello, John Smith. There is no Mr. So again, the salesperson didn't do a good, the developer has done this Mr. should be taken out. Your commission is in commission percentage. So let's see if that is correct. Yeah, that is correct. Performance. Let us look at the performance. So let us look at the ranges between 0 to 2999, 3000 to 4999. Okay, let's see. Okay, again, this shouldn't be greater than, this should be less than or equal to. This, both of them seems to have less than or equal to, which is wrong. Okay, and this, I don't see this anywhere in the requirement. It doesn't say, if it doesn't fall into any of the category, your performance is not rated. So that is not here. There is no such option. Okay, so you have made some observations. Okay, so what you made could be significant or insignificant. What you made could be just cosmetic or it could be a functional problem. Here you can see the first observation you made is cosmetic. Second observation you made is cosmetic. But the commission logic on line number 12, that is a big one. Okay, 9% versus 90%, there is a big difference in the commission amount. So that is totally incorrect. And you caught it before it went into the next phase. Before you actually tested it, you caught it. Okay, and then let's look at the commission amount. The sales amount. Hello, Mr. Salesperson. That one is cosmetic. It's only the Mr. sign. It's a small bug. That's okay. But line 17 and line 21 are functional problems. Okay, so they actually swapped the signs out, which means it's not going to work as per your test case anymore or the requirements document anymore. Then let's look at the last one. The last one, line 37, 38, 39, 40. So that one, the business analyst could say, hey, that looks okay. We will never hit the condition, so it is okay if that is going to happen. So that would be okay to leave it as it is. But the cosmetic issues are minor, but they have to be fixed. The logic issues are major and they absolutely have to be fixed. Okay? So this is your comment. So you're going to document this nicely. And then you're going to make sure that these updates are made before you receive this code to test. Okay, this has to be fixed before it comes to you for testing. So you can see the importance of static testing just by the bugs we observed. Okay, sometimes you'll sit in a meeting and there won't be any bug, and that is okay. But you're just making sure you're scrutinizing the code, to the best of your ability to make sure that you're catching any kind of major obvious problems. So after correcting this mistake, would that mean that you don't have to test this code? Absolutely not. Static testing is not a replacement for dynamic testing. Static testing means you're not going to execute the code, you're just going to review the code and give your feedback even before it is moved into testing phase. Okay, it is going to be like a second set of eyes that are going to make sure that user requirements document and your code are more or less matching. But then when you run the code, in spite of everything looking fine, because not everyone's going to know the kind of bugs you could get when you run the code. So that is why you have to perform dynamic testing. So different parts of dynamic testing is going to be like component testing, integration testing. The developer would do unit testing, then you would do system testing, regression testing. All those tests are going to be dynamic testing. But the static testing, which is what we are doing right now, where we are statically looking at the code and doing a review of it, is also equally important. It is not a replacement to dynamic testing, but it is significant. Okay, so how normally what will happen is, so I have a document here, so I just like gave whatever we discussed right now, I put there who initiates the code review, this is a user requirement specification, and here's code review sample, and then what we do is we document the observation. So this is actually, this code review observations from our QA is proof of static testing that has happened. Okay, so you could have a Word document, and then you could say that you reviewed this code sample on this particular day, this was the handout given to you, and these are your observations. And then you can say, once the tester, the developer has fixed them, then you can say that you've signed off on that piece of code. Okay, here I can say, I've said a text line number 5 does not match user requirements, line number 10 specify decimal. What does this mean? I reviewed this before, and based on my thoughts at that point, I just wrote about these things. Okay, so and then what we are saying about the code, whether it made sense or not. So we are just having that. So let me just add the other things that we can add a couple more conditions there. And then this is all the notes that you would have scribbled on a piece of paper, and this is important too. So based on the above feedback, the developer can update the code or provide clarification. Okay, so this is basically what is expected out of a QA anytime they sit through a review process. Okay, so we have seen what static testing is. We have seen how, in what phase do we do it, the importance of it. Basically, these are review meetings. We talked about, what to look at, the kind of things you want to look at, and how do we document it. So the same kind of static testing can be performed on any kind of work product before it is moved. Architecture diagrams could be one. Your QA test strategies, test cases, test plans, all of them, whenever there is a review process, it is static testing. Okay, so that's all I have for today. Take a look at it, review it. You have to read the chapter on static testing. You have already learned about static testing theoretically in IT 1200 course. So this course is about practical approach and implementation to that particular concept you have learned. So please go over static testing chapter, whatever is the chapter in your book for static testing. And then when you compare that to the two samples I've given, you'll understand how to do it. You are also going to be having a lab again to review a user requirement specification document and like document your findings on it. You are also going to be having a code review sample that is attached to a user requirement specification, and you are going to find discrepancies and document that. Okay, that's all I have for today. Thank you and have a wonderful day.